The It movie from 2017 and 2019. So basically, chapter 1 and chapter 2, I'll be reviewing them as one movie, and I will be rating this movie a 6 out of 10. I would even maybe say like a 5 out of 10. I really don't think this movie is a good movie at all. I mean, some people call this one a modern horror masterpiece, but me, I can barely call it a good movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, I get why people connect with this movie. We have a creepy clown, we have great visuals, we have a group of likable kids, and they fight off some ancient evil. So it has all the ingredients for something iconic, dare say legendary. I mean, we have the original one from the 1990s, and I absolutely think the original one was great. And when I saw the trailer for this movie, for part one and part two, I thought, well, maybe this is going to be a good movie, but also my thought was, why would they make a remake of the original one? The original one was perfectly fine. This movie, part one and part two, I think they're not that great at all. So the main conclusion for me is why it feels bloated, it's way too flashy, too much CGI for me, and surprisingly, not so scary. Now, both parts, so part one and part two, so the first movie and the second movie, they have their moments. I don't think they have great moments, but there are definitely some moments that are, above average. But everything together, it could have been so much more. And this movie is not what I was hoping for. Absolutely not. So the setup, of course, in the first movie, we once again go back to the Losers Club, a group of kids growing up in Derry, Maine, and they discover that the small town hides something far more sinister than bullies or bad parents. It's an ancient evil that feeds on fear, and that ancient evil usually takes the form of Pennywise the dancing clown. Now, when Tim Curry portrayed Pennywise, I actually thought he did an amazing job. Now, in this movie, we have what's his name? Bill Skarsgård, I think. Yeah, Bill Skarsgård. And I mean, he deserves some praise for doing a good performance, but it's not Tim Curry. This is not Pennywise at all, right? So, yeah, we have Pennywise the Dancing Clown, and the concept alone, just like the original, it should be absolute nightmare fuel. And what works? Well, the Losers Club, it actually works. The chemistry between the kids, it works. It's fine. They bring some heart to the movie. They all have some humor to the roles, and the banter and friendship, it feels somewhat authentic. Then also we have the visuals. It feels nostalgic. It looks great on screen. We go back to the 1980s. The setting is atmospheric. It's rich in detail, and the town of Derry, it feels alive even before Pennywise shows up. So that is all fine. The Losers Club, the visuals, no problems there. And like I said, we have Bill Skarsgård portraying Pennywise. Performance-wise, he does a good job, but he's not Tim Curry. I mean, for me, it looks a little bit silly, this Pennywise, this edition of Pennywise. But he definitely gives Pennywise this unpredictable alien-like energy that, yeah, I personally don't really like. But, he has to do with what is given to him. I mean, his voice, his movements, the grin he puts on. It's fascinating to watch. I do have to say that. But it's not always as scary or as creepy as you would want it to be for this type of movie. So yeah, we have some good scenes. I mean, the projector sequence from Beverly's bathroom. All the blood eruption going on there, the opening of the storm drain. That I would say is pretty good. But that's about it for part one. Now, where this movie actually falls apart, it's the jump scare overload. I mean, Every scare, everything that is supposed to be scary is telegraphed. We get the silent pauses, we get the loud bangs, we have some screeching violence going on. And basically, this movie is a continuation of rinse and repeat. And yeah, I really don't like it. When I get a jump scare, I'm not a fan of jump scares, but when I do get one, I want it to be unexpected. But in this movie, everything is super telegraphed. It's basically textbook horror without the tension. And yeah, it doesn't really work at all. And then my main concern or my main critique for this movie is the CGI. I mean, I like a movie with practical effects, especially in horror movies, but this movie has too much CGI and yeah, it loses the weight, it loses the scariness of the movie. Every time we see Pennywise transform, it looks digital. You can actually see it's digital. There's nothing practical, there's nothing scary about it. It's digital, it's weightless, instead of being terrifying. And I would even go as far as saying it borders on being cartoonish. What the hell were they thinking? I mean, this clown should be scary, but it absolutely becomes a cartoon looking thing, and there's no fear there. I'm watching it and I'm basically chuckling like this is ridiculous. And Pennywise, the clown itself, the film never explores what Pennywise really is. I mean, when you read the book, and I actually read the book, it's hinting at something cosmic, something ancient. But here it's just a scary clown that eats kids. Now, I'm perfectly fine with just a scary clown, but make the clown scary. I mean, for real. And there's no real danger. The kids never feel like they're truly in peril. There's no dread. There's no lingering threat. It's just, a string of set pieces. And ironically, the abusive father of Beverly, I think he's probably the most disturbing thing in the whole movie. And the most creepy and disturbing thing should be the clown. So that is a problem if you're making a movie about a clown. So yeah, this movie is roughly 2 hours long of build up, and we get basically a boss fight, something that you would expect. And it's big, it's flashy, it's a lot of CGI, no surprises there, and I absolutely hated it. Now, this movie, I would say it's somewhat entertaining, but it's definitely not scary, right? That's absolutely not what it is. And there's way too much jump scares going on and not enough soul, not enough punch to this movie. So yeah, that is part one. Didn't really enjoy it. And then we go to chapter two, the second part of this mini series, because basically that's what they're trying to do here as well. So we fast forward 27 years. The losers are all grown up. They're successful. They're traumatized. And then Pennywise returns. And then we have Mike calling everybody back to Derry to finish what they started in the first movie. Sounds like the perfect continuation, but unfortunately, this movie it gets lost in its own ambition. I don't know what they were trying to do in part 2, but it wasn't a good horror movie what they were trying to make. Now, what does work? And I would even say barely works. I mean, the cast, they have some pretty interesting names. We have Jessica Chastain, we have James McAvoy, we have Bill Hader. I mean, those are some big names for a movie like this. I would even say it's pretty insane. But I mean, it doesn't really work for me. And for movies like this, now call me crazy, but for movies like this, I think they should go with less known actors and actresses. But that's just my take. Then we have all the emotional themes. I mean, the story tries to explore all the trauma and try to confront the childhood fears. And concept-wise, it feels strong, but it gets buried under so much filler. Let me tell you, this movie is almost 3 hours long. That is wild. There's a few creepy highlights in this movie that work. We have a fortune cookie scene, just like in the original one. We have an old lady that transforms, and then we have a creepy part where we have Pennywise under the bleachers, and I would say that is somewhat disturbing. That works well. And of course, we have Bill Skarsgård again. This time he has even less screen time, but still he does an excellent job. But that is where the movie stops being, let's say, good. And then the movie just falls apart. Like I said, this movie is 3 hours long. That is way too long for a horror movie. Even for this movie, even for it from Stephen King, it's way too long. Especially if you consider this movie being a lot of filler. There's way too much talking, too many flashbacks, there's way too many emotional monologues going on, and basically the whole pacing gets killed instantly in this movie. And then we return to the CGI overkill. Everything feels like it's what am I saying? Digitally inflated. That's right. And even Pennywise's final form, it looks ridiculous. And instead of atmosphere, it's just visual noise. It's CGI overkill on screen. I absolutely hate it. The tone of the movie, the film tries to be scary, but also tries to be emotional. And there's way too many jokes going on, and it's being done all at once. And the movie ends up not being scary, not being emotional, and not funny at all. I mean, I would even say that most of the jokes that are in the movie ruin the tension that is in the movie. That's not what I want from a scary movie. I want there to be tension. And then don't get me started on the final confrontation with Pennywise. They thought, well, let's make Pennywise bigger. Bigger doesn't mean scarier. It makes him look like a goddamn video game cartoon boss fight. What the hell were they thinking? It looks absolutely hilarious. I mean, I don't even know what to say. It's so stupid. And my final critique would be all the bloated subplots. They're unnecessary. All the flashbacks, some underdeveloped character arcs that nobody really cares about. And then we have all the repetitive scares. It just drags the movie down. It's just like the first one, the rinse and repeat. So here for me, this movie way too long. It's too loud. It's too digital for me, and I think we have a great cast, but they're trapped in a mediocre movie. And this movie isn't frightening, and that is what I was hoping for in part two. So my final verdict for part one and part two combined would be like a 6 out of 10. I mean, both It films have a strong foundation because they rely on the book from Stephen King. So they have a good foundation, but I mean, they don't really do what they were supposed to do for this movie. We have some excellent casting, visuals look great, and there are some good moments in the movies. But these movies are also victim to the modern horror worst habits. Way too much CGI, too many jump scares, and not enough atmosphere. I mean, if you compare it to the original one, or if you compare it to The Ring, this movie absolutely under delivers. So the first chapter, so chapter one, it nails the friendship, it nails the nostalgia, but it's never scary. And then chapter two, it tries to be emotional, it tries to be extremely epic, but it just drowns in its own runtime. Let me remind you, almost 3 freaking hours. Now, if they had combined the emotional storytelling and put in a little bit more dread into the movie, we might have a good movie. But instead, we got two films that look good. They look fantastic, I would even say. They sound great, but they're absolutely hollow. So, yeah, for me, not really a great movie. Well, not really great movies, I should say. But then again, that's just me. I hope you enjoyed the review and let me know what you thought of the movies It Part 1 and Part 2. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.